doesn't serve you. I mean, honestly. No, next, we're going to go back home.
All right, folks. Before I forget, protective order, I need attorney to review and sign off on before I...
May we approach the bench also, Judge, for a moment?
Sure. That's who you pick them up? Both of them. Well, they're not picking up. Right. Yeah. It's not going to pick up the table. Sure. Dave, you got any other answers?
But they're picking up business, picking up the people.
Question is the source now.
Yeah. Somebody's got the microphone. Microphone is picking it up.
This whole year.
Well, we'll try that. And then we'll just try to figure things out tomorrow. Right now.
Is this your remote?
All right, thank you.
There's two of them.
Okay.
So I don't know who's the second one.
Who has
I'm
another
assuming it's
microphone
you.
here at the podium?
I'm assuming it's you. This one.
Yeah, please. We're having some issues with the live feed. Is it possible, I don't want to cut off your audio, but maybe if you set your mic up here, that may, you may still be able to pick everything up. You know, counsel at the table are having conversations and some questions to whether or not that's being picked up.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So I'm just saying, if you want to put that somewhere else so you can pick up audio, that's fine. Please don't, because apparently it's going out and they're picking up bits and pieces. So if you want to set it up here with the witness, that's
Yeah, I think
fine.
he's got one up there already with the
Okay.
witness.
You want to set one over here on the jury box? That's fine. Up to you. All right, we're back on the record in the matter of Forster and Gamrat. Mr. DeFerno.
Mr. Graham, how did that meeting on May 19th, how did that involve the I have no further questions.
just had a few questions for you, May.
Yes, sir.
First of all, Judge, with regard to people 2A, that being the transcript, let me ask a couple questions first. Did you turn that recorder on when you walked into his office?
I turned it on in my vehicle before I went into his office.
Was it on the entire time you were in the office?
Yes, sir.
Was it on when you left the office?
Yes, sir. I turned it off in my car.
Yeah, Your Honor, there's been quite a bit of questioning and cross-examination regarding that meeting in Mr. Forster's office. With regard to the three transcripts, I would ask this for one. I would ask for that transcript on May 19th to be admitted to that. That way there's no question of what was said or what was done.
Mr. Perno.
We object to that. There's still an issue outstanding. We haven't got Keith Aller's testimony on that. We have to bring the cross-examine him. His statement's already made to the police where he states that he directed Mr. Graham to record that conversation.
Mr. Nichols.
If I hear Counsel DePerno correctly, what he's frankly saying is if it would be admitted to be provisionally subject to the court's ultimate ruling on the issue of illegal wiretapping. But my concern foundationally is there's stuff in 2A that's redacted, and I'm not sure what's redacted and what's not. Now, frankly, I think the court can separate the wheat from the chaff, but that's my only...
Let me see it. Well,
Yeah, there's no foundation yet that transcript is the accurate transcript.
Well-
There's no court reporter.
Here's the problem with 2A, which would be the audio recording from May 19th. First of all, the witness can read it and tell us it's accurate. The problem is why do we have all this stuff redacted? I mean, why are we redacting the name of the court reporter? I don't understand why we would redact that.
If it was published, Your Honor, this was in the House Business Report that was published. I don't know if I want.
Well, it's the courthouse. You want me to admit it? I need one that's not redacted.
Very well.
I mean, I'm looking at pages 5. There's stuff redacted. I don't know what it means. Page 6, you got some stuff redacted. I don't know how that may or may not help, quite frankly. I mean, I'll admit it for what it's worth. I don't know that I need to read it to necessarily determine probable cause. I mean, let's not lose sight of that, folks. This is a probable cause hearing. This is not a trial, but if I'm going to receive this as an exhibit, I need something that's not redacted. Now, we have to establish a foundation. We could perhaps do it through the witness if he's read through it. I know he said he perused it, but I mean, if he can read through it or has looked through it and says this appears to be a true and accurate transcription of the tape itself, let me ask you first, where's the tape? Normally, we take a tape with the transcript, at least that's how I always did it when I was in trial. We had a transcript and the tape, but we had unredacted material, at least the court. I mean, I don't know, some of this stuff would appear to be, I mean, you got stuff redacted, apparently, that's purported to be what the defendant courses said. I don't know what's redacted out. It could be redacted out, you know, are you here to set me up? Or here, let's play this hoax. I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm just saying, I don't know what it is.
We'll get a copy of that redacted.
Okay. So I'm going to deny 2A until I can get an unredacted copy and the tape.
Very well, Judge.
Anything else with this witness?
I just have a couple of questions.
Go right ahead.
With regard to, you were, in the response question regarding the transcript. I hope the witness shown a portion of the transcript.
What's your question?
Question is, do you recall Mr. Corser indicating to you that we decided to destroy ourselves?
Yes.
Okay. And that he used the term "we"?
Yes.
About destroy ourselves in what manner?
I'm sorry.
Well, Mr. Townsend, I'm not supposed to take that as relates to Mr. Gamrat, am I?
No, sir. I'm just, what was indicated.
Okay.
Was that with regard to the email that you had read?
Yes, sir.
Counsel asked you just very briefly with regard to the phrase inoculating the herd.
Yes, sir.
You indicated you didn't explain what that term meant. He explained to you what he wanted to do with it.
Correct.
What did he want to do with it?
He wanted to put out false information that would make true information about the affair between Corser and Gamrat seem untrue.
Now, counsel also asked with regard to the text messages that were sent to the defendant Corser. Do you recall, or do you know if it was Joe Gamrat that sent text messages or not?
I do know that now, yes.
Did you know it at the time?
I did not know at the time. There were suspicions, and we actually did discuss whether or not it could be Joe.
But I don't want to go into any great detail, but counsel had asked you with regard to your suspicions of a marital affair.
Yes, sir.
And I don't need to get into the details of that, but was there open signs that you were able to observe?
Yes, sir.
And how early on was this during the time?
We began to have suspicions pretty early in January, the first few weeks of January.
Nothing further, Judge.
Sir, with respect to this email and the content, and you mentioned you wanted to talk about having a drug habit or something.
Yes, sir.
Do you know for a fact whether or not Mr. Corser here used illegal drugs?
I do not know that, but during that conversation he said, I'm not a drug user and I'm not a homosexual.
Okay.
He was indicating to me that that was an untrue statement.
Well, do you know whether or not he actually had some male prostitutes, oral sex on him?
I do not, but he said that that was a lie.
Okay, he said that was a lie.
He said he's not a homosexual.
Well, what did he say? That he's not a homosexual, or that that was a lie? Because you can be bisexual, doesn't make you homosexual. Okay. So what did he say exactly?
I said, he said he read those lines, and I said, nobody's ever going to believe that. And he said, I know, I'm not a homosexual, I don't do drugs.
But he never said he wasn't, say, bisexual, right?
Yes, sir.
He never said he didn't have a male prostitute perform gay sex on him behind a gay bar in Lansing,
Yes,
correct?
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I want to ask this witness if he made any recordings that he did not provide.
Well, yes, you should have. Okay. I'm not going to ask you.
Nope.
Nah, we're done.
Okay.
Thank you. The witness be excused.
We have no objection, Judge.
Any objection?
You want to keep them reserved?
So you're excused from proceedings if you're needed back, they'll give you appropriate notice. Actually, you contact your lawyer. We'll make that happen, okay? But for right now, you're free.
Your Honor, does he need to remain close to Lansing tomorrow or in subsequent days?
Well, no, where's it going?
He lives in Lapeer and he does the job there, so otherwise he'd be about an hour and a half away.
Well, they're gonna have to give him some adequate notice.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I don't think, first of all, if they want him back, they're gonna want him back during, if they being defendants, in their part of the case. We're gonna quit in about an hour, and we've got through 2 witnesses. I have no reason to believe we're gonna finish 6 witnesses by this time tomorrow. So I think he's on pretty good ground for tomorrow. If they need him back at some date in the future, they should at least, when we tell them what the date is, give him adequate notice. And I mean, let him know a couple of days ahead of time. We're not going to be jerking folks' chains around here. The gentleman has to come from up here. So we'll have it, depending on where we are tomorrow, we'll know when our next date is. We'll keep you, they're going to keep you in the loop on the date. As to whether or not they need him back, that's a different story. But if they're going to need him back, then we'll move it to them to give him at least 48 hours notice.
Yeah.
Because they also have to work with your schedule as well, at least to get him notice. Okay, sorry. So your next witness.
Call Keith Allard to the stand, Judge.
Who do you want? You out of here?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's their I don't know what was it. It was the one. The witness had it up here. I don't know where it went. I never saw it. Okay. Is Mr. Allard here?
Yes.
Let's go. Come on up here, Mr. Allard.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Howard, is it?
And yes, Your Honor, I represent Logan.
Oh, look at you. Raise your right hand, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
I did.
All right. You may be seated, sir. State your name for the record, please, and spell your last name.
My name is Keith Allard. That is A-L-L-A-R-D.
Mr. Allard, do you know a Mr. Todd Corsi?
I do.
Again, would you be able to identify?
Just sitting right there.
Okay, point to him. Tell the subject what he's wearing.
He is wearing a blazer and a button-down, no tie.
Any facial hair?
Yes.
A beard?
Yes, a beard.
No record of the witness that identified the defendant? Question?
Without objection, the record may so reflect the purposes of this exam.
Thank you, Judge. Also, do you know Cindy Gamrat?
I do.
And how do you know Cindy Gamrat?
I work for her.
Okay, we saw her again. Will be able to identify her?
Yes, I can see her right now.
All right. Can you point to her and tell us what she's wearing today?
That's Cindy Gamrat. She's wearing what appears to be a blue dress.
On the record reflect witnesses 22 and identify the defendant Gamrat.
Without objection, the record may so reflect.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Allard, can you tell us initially how it was that you come to know the defendant Corsi first? Let's go with Corsi first.
I've been involved in Michigan Republican politics. I initially met him at a state convention, I believe in 2013.
All right. And have you stayed in contact with him for the first several years after that?
I've seen him on occasion since then.
Did there come a point in time that you started working with the state?
Yes, I did work for the State House of Representatives.
Do you remember what period of time?
would have been January 2015 to July 2015.
If you're fair to say you were fired pretty much the same day that Benny Graham was fired?
It was the exact same day.
You know Cindy, with regard to Cindy Gamrat, how is it that you come to know her?
I first met her around the time, same time as Todd Corser. She spoke at a county convention, GOP convention in Kent County.
Right. So now were both Mr. Corser and Ms. Gamrat now elected to the State House?
They were not.
Okay. Come a point in time they were elected to an office.
They were.
When was that?
They were elected in November of 2014. They were sworn in January of 2015.
What positions do they hold?
State representative.
Do you know from what districts or what areas they were from?
Cindy was District 80. Todd was District 82.
Okay. All right. Did there come a point in time that you started working for either Mr. Corser or Ms. Gamrat?
Yes, I was technically an employee of Ms. Gamrat in the state legislature.
What were your job duties, your functions?
Legislative work, administrative work. It's very broad in the State House.
Was Ms. Gamrat your direct supervisor, shall we say?
I believe technically that was correct.
How about Mr. Corser?
Not technically.
Did you work for him in any context?
I would say in effect we reported to both.
All right. Do you know Ben Graham?
I do know Ben.
How do you know him?
I met Ben probably shortly before we became colleagues, maybe in October of 2014.
How about Joshua Furman?
I met him about the same time.
When you were working for Ms. Gamrat or Mr. Corser, did you work on any type of what they call bills, bluebacks?
Yes.
What is a blueback?
A blueback is it's legislation that's ready to be enrolled and submitted to eventually go through a committee process or be voted on. So it's after you have it's essentially your final draft that you're turning in to the House clerk. So.
Did there come a time that there was any discussions regarding having one of the staff members sign for Mr. Corser or Ms. Gamrat, specifically, let's say, on House Bill 4317, 4318?
There was a discussion of having a staff member sign a bill, two bills particularly. I can't remember the bill numbers, but they were related specifically to gasoline tax revenues and some changes regarding those.
All right, tell us about that.
Well, first of all, were you a party to this discussion? Were you present?
Yes, I was present at the discussion.
And when did this discussion take place?
I can't remember the exact date. It would have been shortly before the bills were submitted.
Go ahead.
March seems likely, yes.
Of 2015?
Correct, Your Honor.
Who was all present?
Cindy Gamrat, Todd Corser, Ben Graham, and Josh Klein.
And with regard to the discussions, when I'd asked you about the discussions that took place in this meeting, if you could relay what Mr. Corser said and, if anything, what Ms. Gamrat said. Can you do that for me?
Sure, I can. I obviously don't have direct quotes, but I can the gist of what was directed. Sure.
Go ahead.
Mr. Corser wanted to submit a piece of legislation, and he had been told that there was a legislator that had already submitted a very similar copy, and priority was given to whoever gets there first.
Other than Mr. Glenn?
It was Representative Gary Glenn. And Mr. Corser decided he wanted to beat Representative Glenn to submitting this legislation. Representative Gamrat, or ex-Representative Gamrat, also wanted to be a co-signer on this legislation. And there was some extensive discussion about how much media attention you could get on this legislation, and making sure to be ahead of Representative Glenn.
I'm going to object because coarser statements can be used against coarser, but not necessarily against
So right now, I don't know who's saying what. The only thing I have here is that Gamrat wanted to be a co-signer. Did she say that?
Yes.
Okay. And was this a general discussion about how much publicity could be generated?
It was an open discussion in the office, Your Honor.
To that answer, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I don't take that to mean anything incriminating.
Was there any direction given by Mr. Corser with regard to having one of the staff members do something with the bill?
He was not going to be present the day that it was anticipated the bill would arrive, and so he wanted a staff member to sign his name to that legislation.
And did Ms. Gamrat say anything, or anything that was at that point in time?
She affirmed that she also wanted to be a co-sponsor, implying also that she would want her name to be signed on the bill.
Well, excuse me. Did she say, did she direct anybody to sign her name?
Yes, she did.
Exactly.
Your Honor.
What did she say?
I can't remember the exact quote.
So you
Your
said
Honor.
she wanted to be a co-signer, then you said thereby implying. I want to know what she said.
Representative Gamrat would also have not been present that day. And so in the general discussion, it was obvious, I can't remember the exact quotes, that she was instructing our staff member to sign her name as a co-signer.
That's somebody's interpretation, right?
Well, Your Honor, I guess is...
Let me see counsel. Go ahead.
You had indicated that Mr. Corser did Mr. Corser direct somebody to sign his name?
Yes.
Okay. At that point in time, did Mr. Corser say anything to Ms. Gamrat regarding that?
It was something like, do you want to get in on this, Cindy?
And what did she say?
Yes.
Do you know Emmanuel Eichel?
I've only heard his name as pertains to various investigations. I've never met him.
There came a time, was there not, that you talked with Ben Graham about, I think it was around May 19th of 2015, to Ben Graham about going over to Mr. Corser's office?
Correct.
Tell me about that. Did he contact you?
Ben Graham contacted me the evening of May 19th. He wanted to know why former Representative Corser was contacting him.
All right, what happened then?
I told Ben I was not aware why Todd was calling him that night.
What was, at that point in time, what was the defense Corser demeanor, shall we say, mental state that you can testify?
His demeanor on that day?
What that time leading up to that?
Extremely scattered.
Was there something that had been transpiring before that day that caused Mr. Corser kind of what I would call more stress?
They were conducting an extramarital affair, and they had been discovered in conducting that.
So, leading up to the May 19th, what would your description of Mr. Corser be?
He was out of sorts in the office. I remember one particular day on May 19th or the day prior, he was almost like falling over cabinets, kind of almost unable to hold himself up.
There was a discussion, did you have a discussion with Mr. Graham regarding going over it with his office?
Yes, we discussed it following Ben calling Mr. Corser and speaking to him.
All right. With regard to that, was there any concern between yourself and Mr. Graham with regard to Mr. Graham going over to Mr. Corser's office?
It was somewhat of a catch-22. There was the notion that it seemed unsafe given Representative Corser's mental state and what we had observed in days prior, but there was also the notion that ex-Representative Corser was extremely abusive and known to retaliate if you did not, or professionally, if you did not follow his direct orders. So it was, again, a catch-22. Do you disobey his order or do you follow him?
Was there a decision made that Ben would go over?
Ben decided to go over.
Was there a discussion about tape record or recording of what transpired at the office?
Sure, there was a discussion of that.
Tell me about it.
Essentially just a discussion of what we had observed mentally, what we knew from other parties about what had transpired in the prior week, and the concern that safety may be at risk.
And what was the purpose of having it recorded?
If I will never forget this, it was...
Well, stop. Excuse me.
Oh.
What's in the hearsay? You're asking him to tell me why Ben Graham wanted to record? That sounds like hearsay to me.
We should have rephrased that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Did you, I want to talk about what you said or what you thought with regard to having a tape recorder, okay? Did you have concerns about why it should be recorded?
I feared that there was a likelihood that ex-Representative Corser was suicidal. He has been known to do elaborate schemes in the past, and so I feared that for Ben, I said that he didn't want to be left in a room with a body and no explanation for what had happened.
So it was suggested or told to record?
I advised him that if I was in the situation, I would ensure that I had that kind of protection.
What kind of protection?
A recording or some other record of the situation, Your Honor.
You told this to Mr. Graham?
Yes.
That Mr. Graham brought this up prior to you mentioning it?
I can't recall.
Okay.
Was there a mutual discussion regarding the
Certainly.
recording?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. Sorry.
You have to answer yes or no verbally.
For the recorder. I understand.
Did he come and talk to you, did he go to the meeting, did you know?
Yes, he did.
Okay, and again, I don't want to get any information of Mr. Grant.
I understand.
As a part indicated with the hearsay.
Mm-hmm.
So did you talk to him afterwards, after the meeting at all?
Yes, he called me.
Okay, we won't get into the details of that, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Did he play the recording for you?
I heard the recording shortly after the event occurred.
All right, did it ever come a point in time, with regard to signing blue backs, I believe that Corser had indicated that, were you ever ordered or directed by Mr. Corser to go to the home business office? Excuse me, house business office?
No, I was not.
Did you ever go to the house business office? For that purpose?
Oh, no, not for that purpose.
Well, I believe you had said before you had gone to the house business office one time before, yes?
At least one time before.
And what was that for?
The first time I ever contacted the House Business Office was when Mr. Corser wanted to remove the state-issued office furniture from his office.
House business office told you no?
The House Business said that was not it was not their policy to allow you to do that.
Did he do it anyway?
I did not see him do it. We came to the office on the Monday afterwards, and his furniture was disassembled in the hallway.
Well, I wondered, to find out information regarding signing blue backs and things of that nature, would it be the house business office we go to, or would it be the clerk's office? If you know.
I wouldn't know. Yeah. I would assume the clerk. House Business Office always seemed more like an HR body to me.
May I have just 1 second, John? Did you ever tell Ben Graham, or did you ever tell Joshua Pine, go to the House Business Office, find out about signing Blue Act?
No, I did not.
You ever hear Mr. Forster say that to anybody?
No.
Nothing further, Judge.
Same. Right, Mr. Nichols, you cross-examine.
I'm not sure I'm going to have questions. I want to.
Well, you do or you don't.
I'd like to wait for Mr. Quinn to go.
So we're changing the batting order?
We need some flavor.
Well, the Tigers did it, it seemed to help. Go ahead, Mr. DeFerno. See, I always figured whoever's client they talk about most, they went first. You guys have some different rules. Go ahead, Mr. DeFerno.
Mr. Ellers, were you Mr. Corser's chief of staff?
I think functionally, yes.
Do you recall your interview on November 2nd, 2015?
Which portion?
Do you recall it in general? Do you recall who it was with?
Yes, with the state police investigators.
Do you recall during that discussion that you had told the state police that you had found out that other people in the House had directed people to sign their names to blue bags?
I recall that.
So was your understanding that that was a typical practice?
I found that out after the initial investigation and the expulsion occurred.
What did you think about that when you found out that other people had signed names to blue bags?
Nothing surprises me with politicians anymore.
And do you know, do you have any idea if the police followed up on that comment of yours?
I have no knowledge.
Did you have a rubber stamp with Mr. Corser's name on it in the office?
No.
No. Did anyone ever sign his name on anything else besides these two people?
There's nothing I can specifically recall at this time.
Did you have a copy of his signature that you were able to insert on certain things if you needed to?
I did not. I I have a vague recollection that there may have been a digital signature furnished by the House Business Office, but again, I can't specifically recall that.
So you think somewhere in your mind you recall some type of electronic signature?
There may have been a possibility of something like that for use in constituent letters.
But you don't recall who you received it from?
I've worked in several different political offices in my life, and I might be conflating various things in here. As I recall,
I did not hear the witness. Did he say conflating or not?
Sounds like that. Let me ask you a question.
sure.
If there's a digital signature of the defendant court, would that have been stored on a computer?
Correct.
And you go into the file where the signature was and affix it to whatever document, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's not a stamp you carried around. You just went online, got it, dragged it into where it needed to be, and that was it.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Why did you allow Mr. Graham to go to Mr. Corshaw's office the night of May 19th?
Ben Graham can make the decisions he wishes.
Weren't you his supervisor?
Not at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night.
Why not?
He's an adult.
What do you mean you're not his supervisor at 9 p.m. on Tuesday night? When are you his supervisor?
In most typical offices, work hours are between 8:30 and 5 p.m.
So you're saying that you were not his supervisor at this time?
No.
Why didn't you call the police if you thought either Mr. Corser was dangerous or suicidal?
I had no concrete evidence. It was just a general feeling that, given the situation and given the way he was acting, and I've watched the House, in retrospect, I've watched the House testimony where he clearly says he was in a state of self-harm and duress that day.
You didn't have another motive that you had created with Mr. Graham when he went over to record that conversation, did you?
No.
You weren't trying to obtain some information surreptitiously?
No.
Because it seems to me that if you were genuinely concerned about him, you'd contact the police or call the authorities. He's got a gun.
Argumentative.
That's fine, Doug.
Yeah, sustained. That's argumentative.
Why did you advise Mr. Graham to record the conversation?
As I said, we were concerned that ex-Representative Corser had shown a pattern of scheming over the years. He was in a state of mental duress, obviously and manifestly, and I was concerned about his safety. There was also a dual concern that if you didn't go, you would face repercussions professionally from Mr. Corser.
But you do agree that you did advise Ben Graham to record that conversation?
It was a discussion between two colleagues and friends.
That wasn't my question. Did you advise him to record that conversation?
I said, given the circumstances, I thought that would be a good idea.
Did you use the words, "I advise you to record the conversation"?
No.
During your interview with the Michigan State Police, did you tell the Michigan State Police, quote, "So I advised Ben, I said, if you go record it, record the conversation," and that happened?
Your Honor, can I ask counsel where
Where are you reading from?
We was on page 22 of the November 2nd transcript. 22. Line 22. Okay.
If it's in the transcript, then that's what I told the state police.
So you did tell the state police that you advised Mr. Graham to record the
It's a quote from me to investigators. It was not a direct recording of my conversation with Mr. Graham.
Look, Mr. Colonel, show him the statement, show him that.
Yes, that is what the transcript says.
And sir, what does the transcript say?
Oh. Thank you. It says, so I advised Ben, I said, if you go, record the conversation, and that happened.
Okay. And you're not disputing you told Ben, or you advised Ben to record the conversation?
That's the term I used when I discussed with the state police, Your Honor.
Okay. What page is that?
That was page
22, Judge. 22, thank you.
line 22. Mr. Graham then came to your house after that meeting, is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
You met with him after that meeting?
Nope, that's not correct.
Did you have a discussion with him after the meeting?
Yes, we did.
Did he call you or did you call him?
I can't recall exactly who, well, I'm sorry. Mr. Graham called me initially after his meeting.
Did Mr. Graham play you a copy of the recorded conversation?
At some point later that evening, he did.
Was it during the telephone call?
The initial phone call after Ben called me?
Well, maybe I'm confused. There was an initial phone call, correct?
Correct.
Was there
I can
then-
walk you, essentially, Mr. Graham called me after he left Mr. Courser's office. He couldn't believe what Mr. Courser wanted him to do, and he was trying to figure out what he should do so he could not return to Mr. Courser's office that night.
After the telephone call, did you have an actual meeting with Mr. Graham in person?
Well, Ben and I saw each other almost every day. We were coworkers.
I'm talking about the evening of...
No, I lived in Grand Rapids. Ben was in Lapeer County.
When did he play this recording for you?
I heard it later that evening. It was, I assume, the early hours of May 20th. I heard portions of it over the phone.
So it was over the telephone that you heard it. You didn't hear it in person, you didn't hear it over a computer.
There's a possibility that I heard it through like an internet, telephone, Gmail, GChat type line. I can't remember specifically though.
You vote for me?
50 months. All right. Good.
Did you also have a meeting with Tim Boland at some point? Do you recall that?
I have met with Tim Boland.
Did you have a meeting with Tim Boland where you discussed this recorded conversation?
Yes.
Did you tell Tim Boland,
It was the House Business Office investigation that Tim Boland conducted.
but you were talking with Tim Boland? Is that do you understand?
No, it was an investigator. There were at least 3 to 4 investigators in the room, including Tim Boland. It was the committee to examine the credentials of Representative Coursers and Gamrat.
Do you recall who else was in the room?
Hassan Beydoun, and I can't remember the names of the other 2 people.
Were they taking notes?
Yes, they were taking notes.
Okay. In that interview, did you tell Mr. Boland or the investigators that you had encouraged and told Van Brown to report the
Can I
conversation?
ask counsel what paragraph you prefer?
Paragraph 11.
I cannot recall the exact language used in there. All I have seen are draft notes. I'm certain I characterized it the same way I've characterized it in this courtroom today.
You also recall having a meeting with a detective from the Michigan State Police.
There have been several.
Did you recall a meeting with the Michigan State Police where you told the Michigan State Police that you asked or directed Mr. Graham to record the conversation?
Can I ask counsel?
Show them where you're at. Well, here, why don't we do it this way? Did you ever meet with the detective? Is this some other detective now then?
I think it's Detective Troy Johnson.
So we got an MSP report at page 22 where he said he advised him. Is this somebody different?
I think it must be because I'm looking at page 4 of 16.
Well, who was this interview with? Let's get something out here on that.
Let me just indicate, Judge, and it's unfair whether or not this statement was a summary of the interviews that had taken place.
Well, let's find out first of all who it was with.
I'm looking at a police report that says Detective Trooper Troy Johnson.
Now, who did he interview with on, if we use page 22 for? Who was that interview with? Where he read the transcript, he read the portion back. Who was that with?
We were Chairman Brewer, Judge.
And when was that?
This was on Monday, November 2nd.
All right. Now,
Troy Johnson was with Detective Brewer.
so now what's this other one he's talking about? When did that take place?
Apparently it took place the same day. There were 2 troopers apparently had that conversation.
Was it the same time?
My understanding is it was the same time.
Okay, well, he already said that he used the term, yeah, that
Okay.
he advised them to advised Ben to record the conversation, and it was done.
Thank you.
He's not disputing, he said it.
I don't have any other questions.
Anything, Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
I knew it.
On November 2nd, 2015, you met with Detective Brewer, right?
May I ask my counsel a question?
Go right ahead.
Was it correct? Is that Detective Brewer? I don't recall which detectives which days.
You were given a copy of the transcript from the interview.
I was.
You were trying to be honest, would you agree?
Yes.
The memory of the events of May 19, 2015 was better then than it is now. Would you also agree?
I'm not sure how to answer that question.
You do. It is what it is.
I assume it would be fresher in my mind
Well, for
6 months
example,
ago.
On November 2nd, you knew who you met with, right? Which detective?
I'm pretty bad with names to begin with, Your Honor, honestly.
Well, I think you knew on November 2nd who you met with, and you probably remember more then than you do now. Let me ask you a question. Is this Detective Brewer here? Who's the gentleman sitting behind you?
Special Agent David Dwyer.
Okay, Detective Brewer around?
He is not present at this time, but
Okay, well, that took care of that.
I think he's up for tomorrow and whatnot.
Okay,
I think
well,
we'll
he's
see.
here today. Ask your next question.
All right. What you said to him was, I advised Ben, right?
Correct.
I advised Ben to record, right?
Correct.
I advised Ben to record the conversation, correct?
I believe that the interview was taped, and so the transcript is what I said in that meeting.
Thank you. But my question is, you said, I advised Ben to record that conversation.
That's already on the record, Mr. Nichols. He said it, sir.
You were trying to be honest with those gentlemen, right?
Correct.
They were members of law enforcement.
Yes.
They had badges.
Yes.
You were trying to mislead them.
No.
You would also agree that on May 19, 2015, you were not present in Todd Forster's Material Law Office when Ben Graham met with him.
No.
You were not there.
I was not there.
Your name is Keith Allard, right?
Yes, it is.
It's also Keith_616.
What are you talking about?
Your Twitter handle.
Yes, that's my Twitter handle.
What is it, Keith? 616?
I think it's Keith_616.
I believe that's correct.
Do you have any other aliases?
No.
Now, Mr. Allard, you testified about some training from the House when you first started working there in 2015, correct?
Yeah, can I just make an objection to the relevance of this kind of question with regard to the illness of the case?
Well, you gave some testimony about not knowing if it was okay to sign for another, and then subsequently learning that it was okay to sign for another.
Okay, I'll allow it.
So, your training when you started working for the House in the beginning of 2015, were you trained on how to use the, for example, electronic signature that Judge Clark described for you?
My recollections about the electronic signature solely relates to, I have a vague recollection that a member could sign a piece of paper given to them at some type of orientation, and that could then be converted into some type of image file they could use to electronically sign documents.
An exemplar signature, you know what I mean when I say that?
I do not.
You recall telling any of the detectives during any of your interviews that you subsequently learned that it was okay to sign a HUDAC for a legislator?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sounds like you've done 2 interviews with law enforcement, right?
Relating to this case, yes.
Okay. And you've done an interview with the attorneys from the Attorney General's office, right?
I have met with the attorneys from the Attorney General's office.
It was a phone call, right?
No.
Have you listened to any of the recordings from any of those interviews?
No, I have not. I'm sorry, can you specify which interviews you're talking about?
Sure. Let's start with November 2nd.
How about we do this, Mr. Nichols? Did you ever tell the police that you learned that it was okay to have someone sign a blue back in place of the legislator's actual signature?
Did I ever tell the police that?
Yes.
No.
Mr. Nichols?
Thank you. Did you ever learn, subsequent to your meeting with the House Business Office, let me take the question back, when did you meet with the House Business Office in terms of their investigation into the qualifications of Gamrat Probable?
I can't recall the exact date.
After that meeting? did you obtain information that it was permissible to sign a blue back for a legislator?
No.
Have you ever heard or met a gentleman named Detective Fred Whitbeck?
I had a phone call with him once.
Was that in relation to this case?
No.
In a moment. Did you ever request the policy agreement?
No.
Okay. You gave some testimony about the meeting that you seem to recall was right around March 2015 about these three bills. Remember that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Covered everything that you remember about that meeting?
In regards to the questions asked, yes.
I know it was a long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
You gave subsequent interviews to law enforcement about that issue. Is that correct?
What particular issue?
The issue of the blue bags.
Yes, I did 2 interviews with state police investigators that covered that issue.
Okay. Try to do your best to tell them everything you recall?
Yes.
Redirect.
Here are 2 questions. Couple questions for you, all right? That's 2 minutes. I know I talked about, we talked to Ben about the report. We just told one individual advisor to do it. Mr. Colonel actually asked you if you told when Mr. Bowen, when he was interviewing you, that you had encouraged Ben, and then he said told. It doesn't say that. It says you had told him that you actually encouraged Ben to do that, yes? You encouraged him to do it, that's the record.
That would not be the editorial choice I would choose.
Okay. Why'd you do it? Why'd you ask him to?
Because Ben and I were friends as well as colleagues. We were in a very strange situation that neither of us really knew a blueprint for how to act within. And we had a frank discussion. But I did not direct Ben to do that. I mean, quite frankly, I use much stronger terms when I tell him not to wear 3-piece suits, and he still wears them anyways. So.
Basically, what was the purpose of you wanting him to record it?
For his own protection.
Is it for any benefit to you?
No, there's no benefit to me from that thing.
So the concern was just in case something goes awry at that office, you have some documentation to protect yourself.
For Ben's sake, correct.
For Ben's sake.
Sure.
Did any law enforcement officer ask, in your presence, did any law enforcement ask Ben to tape record this?
No.
Any detective, anybody from the Attorney General's office, anybody?
No.
Thank you. Just have them.
All right, thank you. May the witness be excused?
I have no objection.
All right, a couple more questions.
Nope. Direct, cross, redirect. Okay? I don't go back to recross, because then he gets another shot, because you want one, and we go back and forth ad infinitum. Now, there's some judges around town that do that. And those judges end up with 10-day trials that should take a day and a half. Direct, cross, redirect on his witnesses, on your witnesses, direct, cross, and redirect. Last bite to this. May the witness be excused.
Again, I have no objection to this witness being excused.
On subject you recall him or...
Well, he's not under your subpoena.
He is.
Actually, that was released. Your subpoena was released. You sent me an email saying that because the Attorney General had subpoenaed him, that you were releasing your...
He's excused.
I haven't released him from a subpoena.
You got an email?
I have an email from Mr. Nichols, I believe.
I released it.
Listen, let me ask you guys a question. Why are we reserving people? Now, is there a reason? I'm just going to be real straight about it. I don't understand why we want to reserve on every prosecution witness. I don't think it's fair to these people, myself, unless you really have some reason that you think you might need him back.
I didn't say I wanted him back.
I
released him.
Okay. Mr. DePerno?
I have never released him.
Okay, he's excused. You can re-subpoena him if you need him later. He's excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do we have a witness that we know we can do in 20 minutes?
I don't think so.
You have a witness, I get promised it in 20 minutes.
And it's obviously subject to the work process.
You think you can get through direct?
I really said no,
Who's the witness?
I told.
Manuel,
I'm sorry, Manuel.
Well, how long do you think you'll be? I mean, I
I
understand
can
problem.
start, I can start.
Well, let's start. Well, I mean, 4 o'clock isn't a hard and fast rule. If it's 4:04, that's okay. Let's get through the direct and we can take care of the cross tomorrow. Step right up here, sir. Please.
Yes, sir.
Raise your right hand, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, to the best of your knowledge and information, knowledge, and belief.
So help me God.
Okay, I didn't say that, but that's good enough too. Have a seat, sir. State your name for the record. Spell your first and last name.
My name is Emmanuel Eichholt, I-M-M-A-N-U-E-L, last name spelled E-I-C-K-H-O-L-D-T.
Okay, you may be seated. Ms. Hart.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Do you know Todd Corser?
Do I know Todd Corser? Yes, I do.
How long have you known him?
It's been a while. It's probably been somewhere around 12, 15 years, maybe.
Let me ask you a question. Let's just move this along. Is there any reason you two can't stipulate for purposes of this exam that this witness knows the defendant, Corser, and Gamrat? Stipulate to that?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
I don't know if he knows Gamrat.
Oh, okay. We'll stipulate then. Probably to stipulate that he knows Todd Corser. You know Ms. Gamrat?
I've saw her on a few occasions, but she and I have really not had much dialogue. I don't know her personally or...
You know who she is?
Yes, sir, I do.
You see her in the courtroom?
Yes, sir, I do.
Point her out. Tell me what she's wearing.
She's wearing a navy blue dress, some dark shoes. I don't see a watch on her, blonde hair.
Seems like we could have stipulated to that too.
Yes,
Go
sir.
right ahead. I guess if I say we go till we end, I bet you we get some stipulation. Maybe we go to 8 o'clock tonight.
Yes, yes.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Eichholt, I'd like to direct, well, first of all, are you an individual who works with grant databases?
I am, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you in fact worked on databases for Mr. Corser?
I have in the past, yes.
And have you worked with Mr. Corser on Nation Builder?
I have, yes.
And you have access to his accounts?
Just for a short period of time near the end. For the well, when everything was kind of ramping up, some complexities, all of this stuff here. So just at the very end, I was asked to perform a backup of the system to make sure that it wasn't lost.
And this was?
like in May of 2015 and December?
May 2015, somewhere around about that.
So I'd like to draw your attention to between the dates of May 19th, 2015 and May 21st and 22nd, 2015. Did you have a conversation with the defendant, Mr. Corser, with regard to an email?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, and what was that conversation?
Well, basically, it turned into I needed to, or I was asked to send out an email to a large distribution list based on an extract from Nation Builder.
Okay, and did you receive the email from Mr. Corser?
I believe that was the mechanism that I received the email, yes.
So it was sent to you?
Sent to me.
And what did you do with that email once you received it from him?
We had a little talk about it first. And then after...
Before this witness testifies, this is clearly a Corser statement only against the...
Right. Yep.
Well, Your Honor, may I approach the witness we can move this on quicker? So I'm showing you what's been marked, people proposed exhibit number 13. I'd like to take a look at it and see if you recognize it. You don't have to read the whole thing just if you recognize it.
yeah, once you got into the he is thing, I do recognize it now, yeah.
And was that the email that was that emailed to you during that time period that I suggested?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay. And that was emailed from Mr. Corser?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
And you know that it came from Mr. Corser? You spoke to Mr. Corser about it, did you not?
I did, yes, I did.
Okay. And did he ask you to do something with this email within the phone?
To send the email out and get it out to a distribution list.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to show it to counsel. I'd like to ask that it be put into evidence as people number 13.
I object, Your Honor. This is an email from email addresses from George Radford and an email from Ben Graham. This is not appear to be the email that was sent out by Mr. Lincoln.
Okay.
Your Honor, I can
Excuse me,
make
sir,
some
did you get this, who did you get this email from? You recall?
The originating email with the content that went out that's in dispute originally came from Todd.
Okay. What is this that's Exhibit 13? Is that a true and accurate copy of it if we take off the headers of who it's from? Take a look at it.
That is the everything down in the subject matter and the content body of the email is it. That's the email.
Let me see.
Sir.
Can you explain it a bit to Mr. Radford?
Well, so actually, if we take this, if I were to fold it, is that the email, or does it include the second page that talks about the teabagger?
The teabagger part's in there also.
Okay, let's see it. What I have folded and put together, is that the email that you received?
You didn't have all those extra spaces in there. Yes,
Well, I
yes,
understand that.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I shouldn't make it late. Yes,
I
sir.
understand that, okay. And you received that initially from who?
From Mr. Cursor.
And that, as I folded it, bent it, and left some space in, is that a true and accurate copy of the email?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
And is that the same email that you testified you had a conversation with Mr. Corser about?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm gonna take exhibit 13, that'll be admitted. We have some tape around here. Exhibit 13 received.
Thank you, Ernest. Okay, you received that email, and exhibit 13, which the judge has showed you from the defendant, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he want you, when you read the contents of it, did you ask some questions about the email when he contacted you?
Yeah, we had a talk about it. You know, yeah, I had some concerns about the email that was going to go out. I mean, yes, we had some conversation about the email.
He asked you to send it out. Did you have concerns that you to send this out?
I mean, that's.
You got paper on that microphone?
Oh.
You're gonna drive her crazy. Okay.
What was your question, ma'am? I'm sorry.
I said, did you have concerns about sending out that email on Mr. Parker's?
I do. I did.
You did at that time?
Absolutely.
Okay, and did you express those concerns with him?
I did.
And why? Why did he tell you he wanted that sent out?
Kind of wanted to basically burn himself down was kind of the dialogue type of thing. He was under a lot of duress about what are the things that he was encountering, and very stressed out. Todd's normally very stoic about things, but under a great deal of stress.
Did you send that email out for him under another name?
I did. 3 separate names.
Okay, what names did you send it out under?
George Rathburn was one of them, but there's 2 more. I have them on my computer. I don't recall them off the top of my head, but they were...
You didn't send them from your personal email account?
No.
You didn't send them from Mr. Porter's email?
No.
And how many of them do you recall that you sent out?
I was supposed to have sent out about 47,000, but I stopped considerably short of that. Less than 10% of that got out before I got a nasty email in one of the inboxes.
What was the nasty email you recall?
I don't remember the specific details, but it was somebody very seething and angry about the words that were in there, and they were going to contact authorities or something to that level.
After you talked to that person, what did you do?
That's right. I did not talk to that person. I received an email.
You received an email from that person.
At that point, I just shut it down. I just stopped dead in my tracks.
So would it be fair to say that you sent out about 4,500 of them?
I believe that was a number somewhere in that area.
Okay. And do you know where those emails went, what areas?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it was a broad spectrum across the entire state of Michigan, and I do have database capabilities to be able to join that back together and see where the people actually live, but it was meant to be a broad spread target across the entire state of Michigan.
Okay. And after you sent that, did you have any conversations with anybody about sending it?
Newspaper reporter got wind of the whole thing. I had posted something on my Facebook account about a refrigerator that I was working on at the time. I don't recall any other conversations aside from that.
Did you tell him or anybody else that you did not send it out?
Yes, I did. I told Todd that I did send them all out because, you know, I was kind of in a pinch point at that point. It was kind of the thing that I had done, and I wanted him to feel relieved that he felt that I got the entire thing done. I did tell Chad Livegood of one of the Detroit papers, that I did not send it out.
Can I get a point of clarification there? Did you say you told Todd you did send them all out, or didn't?
I did send them all out.
But in fact, you didn't send 47,000, you sent 40.
Less than 10%, somewhere in the 10% range of that overall number. So.
And do you know, or is part of that database included Ingham County?
It very well could have. The database was the entire state of Michigan.
And you obtained those addresses from Mr. Corser's Nation Builder account?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Corser keeps a loaded gun in his office?
I believe he does.
Have you seen it?
I saw various weapons in his office, and yes.
Okay. I just have another question. Have you had any contact with him since that email was sent out?
A few. I do computer consulting up, kind of stopped. I mean, the taxes were killing me. But yes, I had stopped in to speak to Todd. The intent was to go in and work on tax programs on the system too. They had issues with their computers. And we would end up talking sometimes if he's there.
Okay, I'd like to draw your attention to recently in May, around May 11th, 2015, did you have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Corser?
I did.
And can you tell the court with regards to what?
You know, we talk about a broad spectrum of things, about what's going on in life in general, how's the law firm going, how's the family going. You know, the kids are there, they're doing their studies, help them out with some of their little project things that they've got going on in robotics or whatever, give them a little guidance.
Did you have any conversation with him with regard to some of the testified today?
On a brief level, Todd's very guarded.
Thank you.
Well, kind of that, you know, I may be asked to testify, and that some of the things that I say may be damaging, and just go ahead and do it, tell the truth.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Nichols, I take it you have no questions? Okay, you shake
No
him,
questions.
said no.
No questions.
Mr. Corser, see, we can't finish this with I mean, Mr. DeFerno, I'm sorry.
Did Mr. Corser ever tell you why he wanted to send you?
He did.
What did he tell you?
Well, Todd had felt that he had gotten into a lot of things at the state level. He was discovering a lot of issues. Particularly, we were talking about Proposal 1 in the roads back in August of 2014, and some of the discrepancies he was finding in the budget and a lot of other type of things like that. And so he had felt, I mean, at one time there was a discussion about someone threatening his wife and children for some of the things.
Did he tell you that he was sending the email because he wanted to smoke out someone who may have been extorted?
That was part of the thing too, yes.
Did Mr. Corser tell you who to send the email to?
No, it was a distribution list.
You picked the distribution list?
No, the distribution list was provided to me, and I was asked to get the email out to everyone on the distribution list.
Who did you get the list from?
From Todd's system.
You said from Todd's system?
Well, whatever you want to call nation builder, I see someone that owns data and keeps it in a system as they are the system owner, and that's their intellectual property.
Do you know what Nation Builder was?
My understanding was it was a system like the van system that the Democratic Party has. Nation Builder is something that is set up to manage information about people that you're going to be communicating with and doing business with. Or
You understand the difference between a political database and a legislative database?
Not particularly. I have not accessed a legislative database yet, and I don't know the particulars of that.
So the database you access was a political database?
I guess I could speculate and say because of all those names being in there and being used for campaign purposes to communicate information to potential voters, I would say that that's a political database.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of questions. With regard to the nation builder information, you have not provided yet. You have provided some email addresses, correct, to the police, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
There's about 470.
Well, yes, ma'am, whatever that number is.
Is there any way that you would be able to have the rest of those 4,700 be provided to the police, because we do not have them?
I have.
That's not a question of my determination. That's a discovery. You can talk to him in the hall about that.
Well, Your Honor, the reason I'm asking is that I want a minute to bring them back, unless it is stipulated that.
Why? You know, if he doesn't want to give it to you or can't, that's one thing. If you want a motion for me to do it, that's another. That doesn't necessarily, whether he can provide all those names to you or the police, that's kind of outside of where we are. The point is the email went out. That's all I'm concerned. I'm trying to just focus on my scope. So, sir, you can have a conversation with them outside. If, you know, we're going to break for the day. If she's satisfied, she doesn't need to be back. If she's not, we'll see you in the morning.
Food's good.
Thank you.
Food's good. Where? Oh, you mean down?
Washington Street, yes.
Oh, where'd you eat?
Jimmy John's.
Jimmy John's? Where they just eat? Cuban's good.
I know, I'm sure there's more expensive, better food, but...
No, they got good breakfast. Anything else? Okay. Can you get this, you think you can get the information in this hard?
I'll let her, I could put it on a thumb drive. I brought my laptop in the event I needed to do that, so yes, sir, Your Honor.
And let me guess, you guys want a copy too?
Well, I'd like a copy.
Okay, there's one. Yes or no, Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Copies to everybody.
Someone's going to provide me some sort of media though, right? I'm not going to take...
Oh, no, it's not out of your pocket, it's theirs.
Right.
AG has deep pockets, so it'll give you a thumb drive.
Okay.
They got deep pockets.
We're buying that one.
All right, anything else with this witness? He's going to be excused. He's going to provide this stuff, so we'll be excused. All right, that's it for the day.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Judge, Your Honor.
We're all set.
No salute necessary? Do I do anything?
No, you just turn around and leave before we change our mind.
Like your style, sir.
Counsel, I need you to review this order, this protective order,